Hello there, everybody. I am going to commentate. I'm going to talk while Marcus and Aku play their league match for this season. Alright, it looks like I was muted, so on OBS. So let me try again. Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the match between Aku and Marcus for Season 26. There will be... I will be talking, blabbing about their play. And maybe some of it will be coherent. Anyway, let's look at the board. Sentry's nice. There's definitely something you can build up to with Page, so you'll want to pursue the champion line here, but there's just a lot of high power draw here. The payload is a little lacking, I would say. There's basically no barrier to building up big. It's just ultimately you get a few buys from your candlestick makers, and you can use the jack just as a silver gainer. Is not a bad way to get in payload here. I would say it's definitely worth getting a few, probably 3 or more travelers going, because the treasure gainers are actually pretty nice for putting in payload in this deck. As far as the opening, I would either go for Jack, Page, or Vassal. Page is fine too, as Seprix mentions. But I kind of like a Jack as well, actually. Vassal, of course, is a little bit better at hitting Sentry on your first shuffle, and maybe that's just more important here. You could get a pirate ship eventually, I guess. It would be a little odd. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm just trying to look for payload on this board. There's not a lot, as we mentioned. So neither player... So Marcus is going to be able to pick up a Sentry. Aku missed 5 on his. And he is getting a throne room already, which is a little greedy. It didn't pay off. Marcus has a perfect shuffle to get the Sentry, or to get his Vassal to hit the Page there and activate. I think the throne is probably just too early. I mean, there's a chance you hit something, but... And I don't like extra Vassals particularly. I think they get in the way, so I would have preferred he got just another Page or a Menagerie there, to be honest. The Menagerie is likely to just be a regular cantrip, but it might hit, and so to me the Vassals just look pretty bad. Here Aku's finally... Marcus gets a 2 trash Sentry. He doesn't hit any estates, but still 2 trash Sentry is good. Aku will finally be able to buy a Sentry on this turn. I mean, I guess there may come a point where you say, forget it, I'm not even going to buy one, but probably not there. Marcus gets a active Menagerie here off his Vassal play, which is crazy. So he's just cycling like a madman, and gets his warrior in play. So he'll certainly get to champion first and just be more or less won at this point as far as the outcome. There's not a lot that can happen to let Aku claw back in here. So he can decide if he should just throw the hero. I mean, he can decide if he doesn't really want 2 golds or not, but I think the golds are fine. So I would throw in the hero for sure and then just buy another hunting grounds. He will want to probably pick up a second candlestick maker on this next turn, Marcus will. But realistically, there's just not anything Aku can do to claw back in here. He doesn't get the menagerie hit here, but still he gets to draw a little bit further. I would, as Marcus, probably pick up Page Candlestick Maker here. Or just double candlestick maker is also fine. But I kind of like getting another page. It does represent maybe the best way of adding payload to eventually have a hero again. But you can do a lot of different things here. He can't play the hunting ground. Marcus will just probably just buy a candlestick maker on his turn. His champion is bottom decked. But realistically, that's not going to hurt him too much, since it is bottom decked with another hunting grounds, I believe. So he ought to probably just buy a candlestick maker and call it good. He could buy a page as well. Okay, he goes with the candlestick maker. Right, so here he's already going to play champion and then draw 8 cards with his throne room. And from here on out, he can just really just smash the hunting grounds and then gain treasures with his page line. It'll be... well, it doesn't really matter. I would have held off on the sentry play until I had a vassal in hand, right? Because then you can activate the vassal potentially. It doesn't especially matter, but I would have waited. And also it potentially... You can also wait and see if the vassal discards like copper, and then that sets up a sentry play for you. But anyway, here I expect him to... I don't really think pathfinding is going to be better than just buying hunting grounds at any point, but it's not impossible. I'm not quite sure what RTT is referring to about it doesn't really matter. I mean, yeah, okay, he's way overdrawn. I mean, yeah, that's true. It may matter later, but yeah, the vassals don't need to hit particularly. There is potentially some information. I mean, if the vassal doesn't hit, it's actually the opposite. It's not that you want to play sentry before you play the vassals. It's that you want to play the vassals before you play the sentry. I don't actually know if that's true or not, but it gives you a slightly larger search space for trashing because you might discard a copper, and then you know when to play the sentry. But yeah, it's true that setting up the vassal play is not useful or not in any way important. So Marcus had a pretty rotten draw there. I didn't see what he bought. Throne Room 2 Hunting Grounds, that seems quite reasonable. So anyway, Marcus, depending on if Aku draws his champion with draw here early on, he's actually back in the game because of Marcus's dud here. And also Marcus might need to be a little worried about gaining 60 silvers or something. He can obviously just pass if he wants to. I mean, I don't think Aku's actually all that far behind if he draws on his next turn. He should be back in competition, because I mean, in theory here he can even, well, you don't really want to green yet, but Aku isn't in a position to have great payload. He's actually probably a bit thinner than Marcus, though. So if Aku does find his, well, he's gonna have a village effect here anyway. So he is gonna draw here. So Aku is clean, much cleaner. But can't quite output as much money as Marcus can if Marcus draws. Aku could just go really heavy Throne Room Vassal. Here, that's not crazy. He could double Throne Room Vassal. So he takes a distant lands already. I'm not sure that it was time for distant lands, but I do think his best way to do payload is probably with thrones and vassals. Presumably Marcus will discard the candlestick maker. Yep. And then he gets one trashy on a copper here. And he takes both trashes. That's interesting. I think I would have been willing to keep the keep the silver. Markus's payload can be... He might put pathfinding on candlestick maker. That wouldn't be totally crazy, but it's a pretty slow way of gaining money. It's interesting to me that he chose to throw in the candlestick maker. I guess he really does plan on pathfinding the candlestick makers if he wants that many buys. I don't know if that is actually all that quick of a way of getting money, but it's not that efficient to get out of copper for $2, but I guess it's not awful. Here Aku activates his menagerie. I don't think he ought to worry too much about the order there, but Markus will have more flexibility on the pile outs, but Aku still has pretty huge numbers of buys between the throne rooms and the few candlestick makers. Though again, nothing to compare to what Markus can put out. Did Markus get a hero? Yeah, okay, that's good. Definitely want the hero. I don't know what Aku's last card is. I don't know what his dilemma here is specifically. Or if he's just thinking about his buys already. I guess he gets to decide whether he needs to maximize money or buys. So he's going to maximize buys, which I find admittedly a bit odd. If he's not going to use all these, is he going to use 5 buys? I would be a little surprised myself. I mean, he could, but that might be lowering the piles a bit too far. If you spend any, RTC says maybe you wanted to say more coin tokens. Well, if you spend any coin tokens at all on this turn, then you've already done less. You've already saved less than you would have by playing a vassal over a candlestick maker. So if he spends a single coin token, I guess a single coin token might be like a break-even point, but if he spends more than one coin token, he's going to have been better off. If he doesn't need the buys, he would have been better off throwing a vassal and not having to spend that coin token. I don't think he's gonna spend 0 coin tokens here, but if he does, then what RTT says is a possibility. But if you spend any, it's better just to get the extra cash and not spend them. That'll save you more. See, now he's going back. He really, I mean, he probably can use 4 buys pretty easily, but he could have thrown another vassal, right, instead of one of these candlestick makers, and had a little more cash even. If he doesn't use 4 buys, then that will have been a bit of a waste as well. Markus's amount of money he can output each turn is going to grow more than Aku's. Well, Aku's is, I mean, it's not fixed, but Markus can add, you know, $6 with a throned hero. So Markus might have a win here. How much money does it? 15, 27. Okay, probably he doesn't have that much money. I'm just trying to think with a throned hero if he can get pretty close to it. Yeah, and what RTT says is true. Buying the 2 throne rooms doesn't really increase that much. How much money Aku puts out. But anyway, we'll see if Markus is going to throne this hunting grounds. I mean, you can think about not throning the hunting grounds, but you just are going to need to in the end to get through the deck. It would be really hard, I think, for Markus to not have an estate throne pile out, I think. Maybe not enough buys. It's so weird to me that he didn't throne this first hunting grounds. Like, you're just gonna need it to do that, to get through the deck. Alright, so he's through without that, or mostly through without that. You can't, yeah, you can draw the golds because all these candlestick makers can trip. So, does he have the buys? He would need 11 buys. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more buys. So he doesn't. He doesn't have the buys to do the estate pile out. His last card's the hero. Yeah, I mean, RTT's right, the vessel plus throne pile out costs less, but then you need a little bit more money. Because you also have to buy a duchy. He has enough buys to do that one. So let's see if he has enough cash. It would be $12, $27, $30, right, to finish that. And he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plus the hero. Let's say the hero is throne, so let's say 8 more from that. It's 29. Already oh yeah, he's got that easy. Yeah, so he just needs to candlestick maker one of these, play one of these candlestick makers to draw the hero. Oh yeah, throne hero is 10, not 8. So, but anyway, he already had it with my bad math too. So yeah, he just needs to cantrip the, now throw in the hero, then cantrip another candlestick maker, or yeah, throne the hero, and then you can either throne another candlestick maker or you can throne a vassal. It doesn't especially matter because I think you have enough buys either way, but throne a candlestick maker if you want to be safe on that front. Oh yeah, he does need a throne candlestick maker to have enough buys. He just hits the buys exactly. It might not have been necessary to throw in the hero. We'll see when he gets his total, if he has a little extra or not. He did have a little extra. So yeah, he didn't have to even throw in the hero. It could have just been played for just a single gold would have worked too. So nice finish from Marcus. Aku, he lowered the piles and I don't even think really improved his position all that much either. It was going to be hard. I mean, it would have taken another dud from Marcus, I think, just because Marcus could, with that hero, gain so much money. And of course he had the huge lead on the buys. So he's definitely, I mean, he was in a unlosable position assuming he drew. That's just the question. Aku maybe had a less chance of dudding, although his opening hand for that last turn was looking pretty garbage. So here we've got Governor Goons and indeed Governor Mercenary interactions. 5-2 isn't really that great. You could open Legionary, I guess, in hopes that that helps you get your Urchin or your Mercenary a little faster. Or you can just open with the Governor. But I'm not sure. The Legionary's fine. The Governor's also fine. It doesn't do so much for you at the start. Cycles a little bit. Once you have the Urchin in, then the Governor is nice because you can do the draw and then attack and it's not so bad. Yeah, and Tormentor is also worth considering, I think. It has this, it's definitely, I didn't see Tormentor, it's definitely better than Legionary as the opening. Because it's the attack, so it gets you that possible Urchin advantage and then, or Urchin combination, and then it also just gives you imps, which are better. So I would surely prefer that opening to the Governor, but so Aku did not collide, which is not that weird. It's nice. It's lucky when you don't collide, then your Urchin's in the bottom here because just means you have a little bit better chance of colliding the other times. I think he goes with a 4th urchin. I might have started on the coin of the realms at that point, but this is fine too. I'm not especially impressed with the gold gaining. I mean, he's gonna fall behind on trashing possibly, and might take Zaku here. A well is not out of the question, and neither is just a coin of the realm. Well, you could just be drawing. It doesn't make, it's not relative to the size of the decks. I just mean it's not, there's a, governor has a cycling option, you know, a drawing and a cycling option, which is generally going to make you trash faster. I'd have to look at the turns again to see, but you know, turn 5 he could have drawn, right? And that would make him potentially trash faster than gaining a gold. And of course it accelerates his opponent as well. It's not clear where it comes out in the balance, but probably Aku just needs to buy a governor here. I think anytime you can afford a governor, you'll buy it once you have your mercenaries. It's not like fully wasted or anything, the gold gaining. It's just not obvious to me that that's the option you want to use. So Aku buys another coin. There is a risk here that Aku falls way behind on the governors. It's good to see that the person who bought the tax is the one who paid their tax, which seems to be a thing that happens with the tax somewhat often. We'll see if Marcus picks up a coin here. I would expect him to. But Marcus is going to be at least decently ahead here. He's going to be pretty clean this turn. I don't know who has 2 mercenaries. We'll find out shortly. But it's going to be fairly tough for Marcus here. I mean, for Aku here, I think. The gold gaining is, again, quite odd to me. Like, why wouldn't you try and move through more of the deck? I'm not really sure. But I would still buy governors. I mean, I would not stop on the governors while you're still doing this cleanup phase. That was a really nice draw for Aku to hit silver copper there. He can buy a governor. I mean, the goons is fine, but it's not important. It's not important at this stage in the game. But Anyway, here Marcus will end up with a hand of Governor and Governor Mercenary, presumably, after Aku moves through this stuff. It's pretty nice to remodel coppers into coins, actually. It is a pretty good trick here. I don't know that I would have gotten the second mercenary on Marcus as Marcus. I think I would have preferred to have an urchin, actually. But we'll see. This was a somewhat strange order in which to play this stuff, I think. I mean, I know what he wants to... I mean, I prefer urchin because I can remodel the urchin into a 5, not because I want to have an urchin. That's why I prefer urchin to mercenary, because it costs 3. But anyway, that's also a reason why the gold gaining is not the best thing ever, is because it's actually better to have 3s in your deck than 6s for this game, mostly. I mean, at least during the middle part, for sure. So we'll see. We'll see what Aku... We'll see what Aku buys here, but... Aku got thin first, which is very good for him. He does buy goon. People can't resist the allure of the goons buy, even though it's much less of a precious resource than the governors are. But that's okay. People got to have it. And now he's got golds, which cannot be converted into anything nice. I mean, that's not 100% true. They can be. It's not like awful to have a province option later on, but and of course it's a lot of money. So I would remodel copper here for a coin, and then I would buy the last 2 governors. But he might just do governor goons. Well, we shall see. I can't imagine he's not going to remodel copper to coin. That seems pretty much guaranteed. The question is whether he buys a goons or a governor with his second buy. I'm sure one of the buys will be a governor. That would also really surprise me if that wasn't the case. You will, if you ever have enough loose buys, which may not happen here, it may just take too long, or the piles may run before that is what I mean. You can buy coppers here and trash them to mercenary and be pretty confident of that not going badly. Just because of the nature of the draw stuff. I think Aku must have thought that he was going to be able to gain a 2. Or maybe he just misclicked. I don't know. He could have gotten a goons, I guess, but so he does empty governors. So the governor split went 6-4. Of course, you can still draw your deck with 4 governors here. It's not really an issue. I don't quite understand the order in which Aku is doing some of this stuff. Like, why did he play the mercenary so early? I don't really know. He's obviously gonna, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? You're playing the goons at the end. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It doesn't really matter. I forgot about the goons in my stupidity, but I wonder if someone will manage to grab a library at some point. That's not awful either. Aku could probably go for Goon's coin here. I'm not sure exactly what else. Double Goon. Yeah, that's... He doesn't really have the terminal space for that, but so I'm not sure about that, but he has a coin on the mat, so he can play 3 terminals, but he's gonna have to play one as a mercenary for sure. Now the gold silver thing is a little odd. It's a bit of a self-attack and a bit of an attack against them. It's sort of a question of who can handle the amount of treasures better. There's probably Marcus with the big governor lead. And of course he might want to get I would certainly here try to remodel one of my mercenaries into a coin of the realm, I think. I'm not totally following all of the plays going on here, but as far as the treasure gaining is concerned specifically, but did he not have a coin on the mat? Oh, he didn't have a coin on the mat. That makes things a little more difficult. I would trash the silvers before the copper. The copper you might be able to change into a coin of the realm and potentially play this turn. Yeah, you should be able to do that. So I would certainly Well, I don't know if you quite get to there to playing it this turn, but I guess you don't, but I would still do it that way. I would remodel the copper into a coin here. Definitely trash the 2 silvers. So that's what I like from Aku here, just governor remodel copper to coin. But yeah, you go ahead and play the mercenary first. Nope, dislike, trashing the copper. What are you going to do with the governor here? That's weird. I mean, it's fine. You're not really going to use the money. We probably also can't draw all that. Oh well. That was okay. I mean, that was fine to get the points there, and then you have a little bit better I mean, so your issue is always going to be on any given turn, Marcus can probably outscore you, right? By remodeling. It's just a question of can he pile out at the same time. Now Aku's going to have a lot of coins on the mat at the end of this next turn, probably. But this turn he's only got 1, so he's not really playing a whole lot of terminals. I mean 3, so that's not bad, but Marcus can play a few more than that. Most of the stuff I've been suggesting, I'm really not like fully confident. It's not clear to me between the various options what would have panned out the best. Like there, Marcus is Marcus going to go into next turn with no coins on the mat. I can't believe that. So he could have remodeled one of the mercenaries into a coin and drawn on. I believe Aku has the 4. Pretty sure. And then he could have gotten another coin on the mat this turn. And still mostly done almost everything he's doing this turn anyway, I'm pretty sure. He would need to have trashed a gold to Mercenary, but that's fine. And maybe one of the governor plays, well, it would have had to been different, but I think probably worth it to get another coin on the mat. So Aku can't do all that much this next turn. We'll see exactly what he can do and not, but I mean, there's always going to be, now that they've started lowering these provinces, there's also, of course, the potential that salt can be used to accelerate the end game. And Marcus, again, is just going to be in a better position for that kind of stuff just due to the extra governors. So we'll see how it plays out. But Marcus, for instance, could probably do a 4 or 5, governor turn, or not governor, province turn. Not gaining them all, but salting some of them. He can probably do 4 or 5. Whereas I think Aku would be a little hard pressed to manage that specific feat. So we may actually see the provinces run here. Wouldn't be too surprising. I think the duchy buys are pretty strange. I don't think he has to worry about Aku, say, emptying provinces. That would be quite difficult for Aku to do. So I have to admit I don't really see the point of the duchies there. It definitely would have bought a province for sure, and then maybe Wishing Wells or something. Probably you don't want to lower the coins, but I'm just really not seeing what the duchies do for you there at all. Points wise, they're just not that important. And Aku can't. What I think it does is I think it gives Aku more time, right? And that means he can set up the bigger goons thing, because he's the one with 50 coins of the realm. And so you don't really want the game to go longer when you're the one behind in the goon split. So I think Marcus probably could have set himself up for a finish. I mean, it would have been maybe a little scary to put in 5 provinces, but I don't think Aku could have cleared that much. I don't think that was in the cards. And obviously Marcus would have had a win here if he had gotten it down to 5, I think. That seems totally doable. Yeah, there's just no way Aku was going to get 5 provinces. So surely Marcus should have lowered that one by 1 and set himself up for a finish this turn. Not that it's like a trivial finish, but it's at least possible for him. I don't know if 2 would have been safe. If he could have double province last turn, if that would have been okay. That's a little harder for me to see. It would take some counting up of points or of coins and stuff, but it looks like Aku is needing to use all these governors for a draw, so I think Marcus probably could have even put it down to 4 provinces, and then he definitely would have had a win on this turn, and he would have had the same number of points. This is quite strange to me. Aku's going to want to use all his buys, so whether that means coins or wishing wells. Yeah, I like the wells. I don't know if you need the copper, but it's maybe worth considering. It's not crazy anyway. The duchies were so weird. Like, I'm pretty sure Marcus should have set himself up for a win this turn and could have done it. But when Aku plays 5 goons next turns, he's going to be able to just score so much. And now, woohoo, we're drawing duchies. Like, it's going to be pretty tough. And there's still more cantrips and even like a library that Aku can buy. That'll work quite nicely for him. And then he can use a buy on and get, 4 or 5 points off of. He doesn't have to worry about lowering piles really because of Marcus's lack of gains. So I'm going to say this is Marcus has, I'm going to say Aku's in a winning position. Marcus could triple goons and do, I mean, he can try and lower the provinces now, but he should have done it last turn. Otherwise, if he doesn't have a mechanism for ending the game, Aku's just going to outscore him. Just still having an original estate. That's funny. So hopefully I mean, what is he gonna lower now? I'm afraid if he lowers any piles beyond the besides the provinces, that the pile out will be too easy for Aku. You can get provinces, of course, because those are harder for Aku to gain. Though giving him another turn to get all those coins on the mat is going to help him a lot, because he can, of course, play 5 governors, or 5 goons. The advantage is he needs to use Salty Earth to lower the provinces, and that doesn't give him goons points. So again, I think Marcus ought to be buying provinces here. Not a duchy or an estate. I would have bought a well, but that's okay, I guess. I also would have trashed. So now it looks much better for Marcus, assuming he can get it finished on his next turn. Because Aku does not have enough coins in his deck currently to quite make it all work in the following turn. So Marcus can likely pile out. Yeah, 2 coins is enough. He's RTTs, right? You can just I mean, realistically, Aku might want to play 6 terminals, but yeah, he can play all his goons with just 2 on the mat, so that's true. I was wrong. Though he probably ought to play as Mercenary. So he may just want to play 4 goons. Well, he'll surely want to play the Mercenary, right? He's got deck size problems otherwise. This is a good opening hand for Marcus so far that he has. So far a decent amount of green, and probably the Mercenary he doesn't mind tossing either. Well, if Aku doesn't get another turn, he just loses. He's not going to end it. Right? He can't pile out and win. So if Aku doesn't get another turn, then it's not even worth speculating on. Unless I guess, does he have enough money to do the goons and the coin? Does he have $20? He's not going to get the provinces. I mean, if Aku had $20 in his deck, he does have enough buys to do the coins and the goons, but and that would be enough points, but I don't think he would need 21, right? He's 1 in debt. I don't see it. He could stop drawing Marcus any cards. That might help him out. He could even mercenary the... Yeah, but to pile out he needs all the buys. But anyway, he has enough coins to play all 6 terminals. So he can play the Merc for coin. And play all the goons. So that's not, it doesn't decrease his number of buys. Because he has 3 coins on the mat. How many silvers did he play last turn? Did he play everything? Just 2 silvers? Yeah, that's not gonna cut it. He has like $14. Maybe the copper and he can get kind of close, but I don't think he's quite there. I'm not entirely sure what's in his... What did he discard throughout Marcus's turn? Copper, 2 silver. So he has 3 silvers. Okay. He just didn't have them all in hand last turn. So he does maybe have the money. He'll need to Merc trash like an urchin in a well or something, or the see, well, let me see again here. Has Aku shuffled yet? No. So he does have 3 silvers? If I'm reading this correctly. Man, I sure would have saved that well for later on, but I mean, there's potential you can play it as your last card or something. Did Marcus give him some silvers? I guess I didn't. So, so far he's at $12, $13, and he needs 21. Potentially a little bit higher with the mercenary. He's got to find all the goons though, so you can't really. He's got to merc something. Probably you can merc the province, right? And still, no, that's only 30 points. That doesn't do it. You can't merc the province. He did find all the goons, but I guess he had to hit a silver. Did he, I don't, what are his last 2 cards? Wishing Well Silver? Yeah, he did have to find this silver. Or the wishing well and hit with it. It's too bad a province trash doesn't quite cut it. Or a province trash didn't quite cut it. Would have been losing by 2 points. What did he buy last turn that gave him a debt? It didn't really matter, but oh, the copper debt. That's funny. He probably didn't need those points. Maybe he did. To be in range. Yeah, all he can do there is buy the wishing wells. He shouldn't have even bought the duchy. Doesn't do anything for him. You're not going to need those 3 points, I'm sure. So he saved 3 coins. No, he just has 2 coins now. Marcus just has to try and empty the provinces. So he basically just draws with governors. Did he get to 6? Yeah, so he can just salt the rest of them away now. Probably buy 1 or 2 of them. Nope, has to use it. So, yeah, I certainly think Marcus should have moved on the provinces a turn sooner than he did. But he made it out okay. He still has to make a correct wish at some point. Well, that's not true, because it would have been his last card at that point. His first wishing well play I did not like. He could have gotten more information. About his remaining cards. Basically, he could have known a little bit better whether to guess goons or silver. Or potentially. He could have known a little bit better. Interesting game, though. Governor is such a cool card. We saw a lot more treasure gaining than I would have done, but I'm not really sure what to say about it or whether it was good or not. It was hard for me to judge. I think Marcus's deck was fine. It was just the duchies. Yeah, so Aku's realizing the thing I was saying. The Marcus's deck was fine. It's just that duchy turn I thought was really bad. I mean, that's not true. If your first wish works, then it's okay if the wishing well is your bottom card. You just need one wish to succeed. It doesn't matter which one. Because if you have any successful wish at all, yeah, it doesn't matter. I think what he's saying here is incorrect, but any successful wish, a single successful wish, because he's only short one card. He had 2 cards left in his deck at the end. One was a cantrip, so it's like a non-card. So he just needed one wish to work. Now Marcus is saying the thing I was saying. Theorem is right. Mentally, it's not great to really think about this stuff, although I do it all the time. It's basically, it's one way of getting better, really, is to think about these kinds of things after you've played through them. Though it's not necessarily helpful in playing well in the next game you're going to play in the match. So, although it's difficult to do, I don't claim to be particularly good at it. It's better if you can set these kinds of considerations aside until you're done with the match and then beat yourself up over them, which is fine and a good way to learn. But I don't actually know that he's beating himself up so much as is frustrated with the shuffle luck, but he had to make one successful wish, and not bottom decking the wishing well was one way to do it, because then you can wish for your last card. But anyway. Yeah. It's so hard, but to not think about the previous games is important in the middle of a match. They've played 2 games in an hour and 20 minutes, so we might be here all day. That's not, but we'll see. As far as this board, there's more payload to go with the champion this time. I'm thinking of a different game, actually. There's a there was plenty of payload for the other champion as well. Dominates a little better score than colonies, of course. The draw is a little bit on the weaker side. But still, obviously with this amount of alt VP and high value alt VP, you're going to build and build and build. And it's not too hard to do dominates with platinum. I would not, I think I would have gone with the remake. There are decent 2s here, so the remake looks pretty safe to me. I guess that was his turn 3, so that's not. Aku opened double page? Now I'm confused. What did he get? No, they both open remake page. Okay. Pretty nice pairs to get with their remakes. He had to gain a lot of silvers, which is not ideal. May make him want a remodel to get to change those into vaults if possible. They're going really heavy on the pages. Well, of course they did, just because they remade stuff into them. But there is a potential, you don't really need to keep your necro for anything. He keeps his necro, which is odd to me. I mean, the necro, who cares? Like, you don't need it. I would probably buy a remodel here. You can also just remodel treasure hunters, which you're going to have 30 of. Maybe. Yeah, Perry, I didn't see Perry Green's comment, but yeah, that looks right to me, that you're going to use those on the silvers. It makes it a reasonable purchase on 4, since you're going to for sure have some extra silvers. So Aku does buy a remodel. Now he's just deciding on his traveler stuff. He gets all of them, which is interesting. Again, he's faced with a pretty heavy, what's going to be a pretty heavy treasure hunter play if he wants to play it. Since presumably this remodel will gain something and he probably will buy something. So now the treasure hunter is quite large. Again, depending on what the page draws, you may just want to remodel the treasure hunter into a vault directly. I sure would not have played that next one. This is too many. That's just way too many silvers. Marcus, if Marcus plays his treasure hunter, I will be just pretty much baffled. Like, you're almost getting to the point where you can't ever dominate if you have that many silvers. So I certainly agree with Marcus skipping that. So this will be Border Village Vault, or it ought to be anyway. A little bit sad to draw the remake dead, but so Aku's got these warriors, which are nice, certainly. He also has these silvers, which are, I mean, I'm talking them. It's okay to have one set of a big treasure hunter gain, but to get too many of them becomes just a burden. He's going to be able to buy a vault almost every turn, so there's some upside to having all these silvers. But so he's got to decide here if he wants to remodel and remake stuff, or just like remodel the remake into a vault and buy a vault, which is not crazy. Well, you know, remodel the remake into a Border Village vault. So we'll see what he goes with. Otherwise, you can remodel. So it looks like he's playing both. I think I like that better. That seems like trying to get to the control a little bit better. Oh, he didn't have a border. He didn't have a village, so he couldn't play both of them. But anyway, I think I agree with his choice there to try and get a little better control of the deck. I'm not sure gaining the pages is that great of a thing, other than it might make them gain an extra silver. The unfortunate part about it is that later on when you play your warriors, you have a chance of cleaning out their silvers for them. That's sort of the downside of getting the free pages. You may also hit something important like a remodel or something though, so this can be a platinum and buy another Border Village Vault thing. I don't really see any reason to spend money on things other than Border Village Vault when you can afford it. There's not really a points consideration to make at this point. There will be after a few more turns. It looks good for Aku though. Since when it does come time to green a little bit, he's going to be in a good spot for it. I think you just don't risk drawing the champion dead, so I don't think you play any terminal draw if it's going to be, if you haven't played a village. It's not worth, the shuffles are way too big. It's not worth what little advantage you'll get from you know, whatever thing you get. Whoever draws their champion early is going to be in a nice spot. So we'll see. Yeah, like I would just stop here. I might remodel Copper to Candlestick Maker and buy Vault. That's probably what I would do with this turn. I don't like that at all, but it didn't hurt him. But it's like, I don't see the upside of it, right? I mean, what does it gain you to, I guess there's a chance it lets you play champion sooner, but still not much of a fan of it. A lot of the pages are going back slowly into the supply, so there's not necessarily a great 3-pile anymore, or a huge risk of 3-pile anyway. They just gain these silvers willy-nilly. They're all about it. It's certainly possible to play a much cleaner deck here than they have. I'm not saying I would have managed it, but it's possible. with the trashing that's available. Anyway, now Aku's gonna start moving through the deck pretty well, I would expect. There's not a real great reason to play the border village so soon. I mean, it's fine. I guess you just I guess you probably just dominate if you can, if you get that high up. And you can't really clean the silvers out so well anymore now that the vaults are gone. So you just have these junky cards a lot. He did manage to draw nice targets for the remake. In Necro and Copper. He doesn't quite have the dominate yet, depending on what the vault draws. He did hit a warrior, which is nice. Still not. Well, he could dominate. I think I would rather play the remake, but maybe he just wants to dominate right now. There's still a reasonably good chance that whatever the border village draws gets you to dominate. Just based on what your deck is, though, you know, it could easily fail in that front as well. So on one hand you can try and get clean, though maybe that's just sort of a lost cause. And on the other hand you can take the dominate because it's like 1,000,000 points. Roughly. Like 17 points or something. So he drew the silver, so he made it. No, he didn't quite make it. He's $1 short. If I've added correctly, which is far from guaranteed. I would not have gone silver to remodel. I don't think that does you any good at this stage. So I would have certainly trashed a copper. I mean, remodel looks just worse to me than silver at this point. I don't know what are you getting with the remodel. I mean, it gives you some more pile control, but not like a huge amount. So I'm not totally convinced of that. One would think that Aku wants to probably discard to one of these vaults, but he didn't, so. Markus has the dominant. No. Yeah, he does. That's so weird. Isn't that like awful? Why wouldn't you just... Am I miscounting? Maybe I'm miscounting, but didn't he have a dominate? Isn't that just swapping your platinum for worst card? That's the weirdest buy ever. It's just like the fanciest of fancy plays. You don't need that point though. No, it's one less point, right? This whole thing is 4. This whole thing is 12, 16. The province is 17. Oh, I see. Sorry. Yeah. I misread the second part. He was just saying not 2-1 less. Yeah. This is so weird. Just do a battlefield rush. You build all this and then you just do a battlefield rush. That's fine, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but the dominate was so weird. I mean, those passing on the dominate by Markus was so weird. I could understand it in Aku's position. He was getting some good trashing in. Although I didn't like what he actually trashed for, but I could understand it. I mean, if the game doesn't end, it's just not competing with dominate points. If there is a 3 pile approaching, then the battle maximizing your point gains right now makes more sense, but all it takes is like a couple 1 or 2 dominates to make up for any sort of early VP leads. And I mean, I agree with, I don't know, a hypothetical person who would say that it's not that easy to dominate here, because it isn't, but still, I just don't. I guess Aku's going to try and pile out. Yeah, so this one has gone off the rails for me in a number of ways. Aku will have an easy dominate this turn. They just hunted treasure, Breppert. They hunted so much treasure. Does I guess Markus probably has dominate here again. 2, 4, 6, 7, 12. Okay, it depends on what the venture finds. No, it doesn't. I think he just has it. Okay, so Markus is going to dominate here, and Aku is also going to dominate, amongst potentially other things as well. I assume he's going to dominate. If he doesn't, I just don't know what's happening anymore. This is baffling. To see, like, it's just totally baffling. If he were, why? What is he doing? It's so weird. It's so incredibly weird. I also really, it won't matter here. It really irks me when people discard to their first vault when they know they're going to play more in the future. Sometimes it's like impactful. Here it won't matter, but it's a pet peeve when people discard to the first vault play. Because you can always discard as much as you want when you have more information at the end. So Aku will be able to dominate and gain a province, presumably, here. Or does he even have enough to do colony? He didn't have enough to do colony. Boy, this one, it was something. So Marcus is not too far from a dominate, but now he's just so far behind. He's at 12 right now, so it's just guaranteed again, unless he decides he's just got to remodel something into some tiny, useless amount of points. If he thinks the venture is going to find a platinum, he could do remodeling, but that's not going to happen. Hey, look at that. Aku has a decent shot of just double provincing. Or milling at the very least. Though now he's kind of in a... He's probably not going to get there quite. Unless he's top deck vaults in his shuffle. You could just like if you want to play to drawing a vault on your top deck, just don't discard anything. Is what I would have done, but this is fine. Oh, this also does it. That was probably one of the less likely ways for it to work out, or maybe he really does have that many remodels. He must have quite a few, but that was weird. Weird game. It was way messier than I think it had to be, but and definitely a lot of the green plays were questionable to me, but Marcus's were more questionable. Well, the farmland was the super bad one. But now we got another one of these draw plus goons, or helpful draw plus goons boards, which is certainly what you're going to play to here. And of course, all the trashing you want. Fortress is mostly just a village. I mean, in theory, it has some interactions with Doctor and Deathcart, the trash ability, but in practice, I wouldn't want to spend too much effort on that. I can maybe see a Deathcart, maybe, but it's still a little far out to me. And I think I just am gonna prefer Chapel trashing and not goof around with the Doctor here. 5-2, I mean, you could imagine doing so. Anyways, I would probably go with the Haggler as my 5. Market's not too bad either, but Haggler looks pretty safe to me. Aku gets nice draw on the Chapel. Marcus also gets decent enough draw. Aku's is better though. Aku's market hides. Marcus's next draw pretty not friendly, since he's still got two estates in his bottom cards. I think Aku ought to just buy a silver. The only other thing I would think about would be pilgrimage, which is not crazy. I would not have bought a fortress there, but I think you're gonna want a silver to hit to get to the goons anyway. So, so Marcus has only $3 left in his deck, I think. Maybe 4. No, he bought a Pearl Diver, right? No, he didn't. He just pass on a Pearl Diver? Why did he pass? On the Pearl Diver? Surely it's better than nothing. I mean, here it's really not much better than nothing, but it's gotta be better than nothing. I don't know about bank. I would not keep treasure around just for the sake of bank, I don't think. But that's just me. I don't mind a bank, I guess, but it's not really where I would want to focus. I think Marcus is, I mean, he had bad draws, but his plays have been really weird. I mean, honestly, I think I've not really liked much of either of their buys, to be honest. Is he gonna market fortress or council room fortress? I assume you keep the coppers. Good Haggler fortress. I mean, nobody's chapels. Well, I didn't quite see every turn closely, but chapels didn't miss shuffles, did they? They should be further along by now. Someone should have a goons by now. Another weird one. It's hard to point to exactly what to do better without playing it out. Well, some of it's just hard to watch 2 turns, but there was some weird passing on Marcus's part on some buys, and just didn't follow it. Like, I would take either person's shuffles against the other person's choices here and play it. If they did the same stuff through their opening turns and I got to play either person's shuffle, I'd be willing to do it. So now Marcus has got to go Goons Fortress. Like, there's no right. I mean, there's just not. There's not like a thing to stop and consider, right? I think I never updated the score. I know Aku won 1 in there. I don't remember. Have they only played 3 games? Maybe. I maybe just missed a score somewhere, but okay, so I did have it. They have just been playing incredibly slowly. Well, the complicated boards, certainly. But then, these last 2 turns, they spent so long. Okay, so Marcus is not getting a goons, which I think is a mistake. Aku can trash a copper here. I hope he gets a goons. Aku can trash a copper here and do council room fortress with his hagglers, and he looks in pretty good position. To me, anyway. Alright, so Aku goes with what I think is a solid play there. Marcus has got to catch up a little bit on this fortress split. Aku did not have a great opening draw here unless he has got fortress coming on down the line, in which case it'll be perfect and he'll finish trashing most likely, as well as get a little bit more on the fortress front. So we'll just see. Pearl Diver, so he's got to just goons and buy fortress. Not a good draw for him, but what he has to do is pretty clear. Of course, the attack is good, so hey. So Marcus is surely going to goons council room fortress here. Or maybe he's just eschewing goons entirely. He double fortresses. I do not particularly like that. Aku's certainly going to finish the fortresses off here. Gives him an even split. I mean, Marcus did that so that he isn't, so that he doesn't lose the fortress split, but he's just going to be behind on the old goon split. and with a little bit of a fatter deck as well. So I don't think it's gonna work out for him. It's gonna be really easy to get the 3 pile here. You don't have to play all these millions of hagglers every turn, but he can probably go with Goons Market Fortress here. And he'll be... There's a pretty easy pile out you can do where you get the Pearl Divers and the Ruins. So that's a thing you can do, presumably. If you're overdrawing here, if you want to be a little bit greedy, you can just trash 1 copper and buy a Pearl Diver, gaining some Ruins. It's a little greedy though. And it depends on how much overdraw you had. Looks like he had two cards worth of overdraw. So you can't quite manage that. This is it. You increase your stop cards by 3. But no, actually you break even. So yeah, you can do it if you want. You can trash 1 copper, do Goons, Market Fortress, Pearl Diver, 2 Ruins. Which is obviously, and then you still have exact draw, I think. You don't really need to do the Pearl Diver part though, so it's basically just if you want to angle towards the game ending sooner. There's nothing particularly good about doing it. So Aku will just kind of have a points lead every turn and slowly work down these Goons and Markets and Pearl Divers, I suppose. One thing he can do is, like when he's got too many terminals, he can trash Goons as he buys them. Like he doesn't have to keep them all in his deck, but he can lower that pile as a way to both deny Marcus and use that as a way to gain Markets, essentially. Because you don't really need to necessarily play every single Goons or more than 2 Goons or whatever you want to do. So he can add 1 more. Yeah, so like here it's pretty safe to just Goons double Market. If you want to be a little safer, you can pick up a Council Room. Then you won't have enough to play every terminal in your deck, but that doesn't really matter. You can also you can do a lot of different stuff. The bank is just the worst. Why would you do that? Oh no, yuck. Bleh. Whatever. I don't know why people do this stuff. I hope he has a dud this next turn. He deserves it. Why would you ruin your beautiful deck? Those fortresses better not draw a council room. See, that's justice. That's what we call karma. And it's well deserved. He was in he'll probably still win, but he was in like a completely unassailable position. And he goes to buy banks and coppers. And now we're into golds. It's just, what are we doing? What kind of world are we living in anymore? And he's going to debt again, and he deserves it again. I don't know. How many fortresses did he play last turn? He played all of them, so yep. Why? What is wrong with people? Just like get markets and up your number of buys, and then be happy when you can play all those markets, buy a bunch of pearl divers, empty piles, win the game. These guys, they're better than this. They know how to play a clean goons game. And he bought a gold. He bought someone on this board. Bought a gold. And it wasn't for haggler tricks. That's the only justification I would accept. That was a lot of the fortresses too, and he probably won't draw through it in this next turn because it's got coppers and banks, you know, those power cards. This game has made me overly bitter. So he may still draw through since he's got fortress counts room there, but in fact he's got a okay shot at. Well, he'll draw something in any case. The question is, what exactly will there be left for him? Marcus should be at least... Yeah, Marcus might have a win here. How much money does he have? To get the markets, you gotta play. if you play both the hagglers and 2 goons. It's the points. The points are the hard part. But if you play 2 hagglers and 2 goons, that gets you up to 7 buys, $10. No, more than that, $14. So you do pearl divers and estates to get the markets gone, or the ruins gone. So you can buy 5 pearl divers and 2 estates. 14. That's a tie. Who went first? I think that's a tie. I think you can score 16 that way. Marcus went first, so that doesn't quite work. So you have to think of a different way, if possible. He does have a pilgrimage in play. Yeah, we might want to look at death cards as well, as Tracer mentioned. But I'm still not sure. He's quite close. I could have messed up the math up potentially. You know if he plays all the goons he can get the points, so that's not so much the issue. But I feel like he needs both the hagglers down to get the piles, so that's a problem. He's gonna have $14. Like if he duchied, if he bought duchies, gaining death cards. Each duchy could take out 4 ruins. Maybe he sees a cool way. We'll have to see. There could definitely be something with the death cards. He does have a pilgrimage flip as well, though I'm not quite seeing how that's going to do it. This is just a deserved loss for the bank if he does have a win. Yeah, like I said, I haven't quite seen a way to do it yet. Right, we've seen the tie. Yeah, tie in quotation marks. You can't see me motioning with my fingers. Also, I'm not doing that, which would also get in the way of anyone seeing it. I don't even know if Psychomatic is listening. I'm acting like I'm talking to him, but oh, he is. Okay. It's sometimes hard. The chat responds. You don't know if they're responding to you or just to the universe at large. But in this case, it was me. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. The problem with the death card buys is the death cards themselves aren't going to empty, so you don't really gain a lot buying them as far as the number of gains. Such an interesting puzzle, though. Well, sort of an interesting puzzle. Yeah, if you start in on those duchies, then you don't really... You do one duchy. If you do one duchy for double death cards, that gets 4 of the rune markets. And you have 9 left. Then you can switch to the pearl diary. Yeah. I think you can do it with a duchy. Yeah. Team Lyle saw it, Laya and Marcus saw it. Yep, you can do it with a duchy. You just don't have to use death cards. You could use death cards, which basically gives you an extra gain. Anyway, good on Marcus for searching out the win, but that was certainly Aku's game to lose, and he found a way. I mean, the market's fine. Market's a fine opening. I would have opened Haggler too, but that's just because I love Haggler. The market's totally fine though. Like it's absolutely okay. All right, guys, let's start this next game. Marcus did have bad draws, but he did weird stuff too during the trashing part of it. Oh well. Well, let's see if I think they're gonna shoot for the 4-hour match. It's okay. You can bounce back Aku. You can still tie him. That's all I managed to do. I mean, it was certainly still possible because he added a council room as well. So I'm 100% sure he could still draw the deck because he added a second council room. But it was obviously still bad. This is a weird one. If you build, you got to do it with advisors, but you don't necessarily have to build here. The main thing is the bank doesn't gain you anything. It's just not any. I mean, you can get as much extra cash from. You can get as much cash from adding in more markets almost, and without messing with your consistency. Anyway, I'm glad they're thoroughly covered that. Right, so RTT wants to remake Market Square, which is alright, that's okay. Someone could try on the 5-2. If you're really cool, you open Explorer. I don't know that that'll work out for you, but it might be fun. I'd be tempted to do it here just because of the nature of the alt VP isn't really good for the engine at all. Like the advisor stack can't do anything with the Silk Roads. Not hardly. But realistically, you're going to be able to build, you're going to be at least able to build a deck that draws itself and has golds, a decent amount of gold, so that's not a bad payload. So it probably doesn't make sense to doesn't make sense to try to do the Explorer stuff, although I like doing that kind of stuff sometimes when it's possible because it's fun. Fortunately, again, with the remake shelters, there are nice 2s here. I think I agree with the opening. Zaku just has to bite the bullet and get the remake on the 5-2. He had a rotten draw, though. Markus had a great one. Markus is going to be able to pick up a Hamlet here as well. You could do Cellar, that's not... but the Hamlets are fine. I might have picked up one Cellar there as Markus. I would just go ahead and buy the advisor. I guess the question is Armory or Advisor. He goes with the Armory. I think that's good. I can buy that totally. I would go ahead and just move the Necro into a Cellar or a remake, or a Cellar or Hamlet, whichever one. I don't know why do Coppers versus Necro there. That doesn't really make any sense to me, but I don't see what the advantage is. But it looks very good for Markus so far. Since Aku also bottom decked his remake here, I guess. Okay. Yeah, I would just Armory Advisors. I would just be in on the Advisors right now. Armory Advisor, buy one. You can imagine going for a Market Square, but I would just start on these. He should win easily, like it should be just a super easy win. I would have loved to see a Cellar in the Necro by now, but this is fine too. Or Necro into Cellar. He'll toss the Armory. You just play the Hamlets. The Hamlets will almost always cantrip. Like, you don't even need the things they give you at all. They're just kind of nice to screen the Advisor stuff. I hope he really... This should be Necro to Cellar, Copper, Trash, discard, Market Square, and buy Advisor. But he gets a Hamlet. That's fine. The Hamlets are just whatever. They're just be cantrips. You can get buys with them, but it doesn't matter. It's not that good. You really don't need actions, hardly. Who has this Cellar? Must be Aku. He just got it. This will be at least another 2 advisors for Marcus, I would assume. And possibly 3 if he draws something nice with this market square. But certainly 2. At least on this remake board, they're actually clean. I guess he can safely throw something into the discard and it doesn't matter. He doesn't particularly need the gain, but it doesn't hurt him. Yeah, that looks like a reasonable resign to me. We've got a nocturne heavy board. I guess not that heavy, but three nocturne cards anyway. It's like Nocturne Empires, sort of. There are actually only 4 expansions on this board. Maybe that's not that odd. But it's like Seaside Empires, Nocturne mostly, and then 1 Intrigue, or some Intrigue. I guess 4 expansions is probably not much below average. Anyway, you don't really have much draw here. Oh, you can do Courtyard Ghost Town, I guess, for draw. Well, there's a lot of alt VP, so you, oh yeah, Schemes Hinterlands. Never mind. It intrigues me though. So anyway, yeah, you I'm just talking nonsense as far as the expansion stuff, which is not a rare event. So the thing that Cemetery is trashy too. I guess what you would try to play if you weren't going to build is something like Courtyard Money. But I might be a little afraid to try and do that against the amount of alt VP here, which is quite a lot between these 3 cards here next to each other. I never go for castles if I can help it. Castles, I think, are bad to like go for. Castles are just like a thing you get sometimes. They're just, the first few are so weak. So I never try and sacrifice deck quality to buy castles in the early game. That to me is just like the worst thing to do. Yeah, kind of what Tracer says. Only you buy them like a long time after your opponent does. If then. You don't have to either, but like you don't go for them first unless you have some unless there's some real weird asymmetry in the decks that makes it a lot better for you for whatever reason. Which is just doesn't happen very often. Sometimes with certain gainers or certain combinations of a couple gainers, you can blitz through the first few without it hurting you too much, but I haven't really been paying attention to the game. Someone bought a Fool. That's interesting. Marcus is just going heavy ghost towns, I guess. He's gonna be the guy with the ghost towns and a cemetery. So Marcus is going thin. thinner, while Aku has not done that so far. I agree with Tracer. I think you would. I don't really follow a double ghost town opening basically anytime. Like I just don't know what a double ghost town would ever do for you. Chariot races are okay. It depends on whether they. I mean, if the game lasts long enough, then probably pay off. Pretty nice fool. I wonder if Marcus will buy the second cemetery now. I don't really love them. Okay, Marcus, I guess, is going to do more of money. The components are nice and cheap. The lucky coin's expanding the deck sizes kind of fast, so it's not. You can choose not to play it because most turns you don't need it to hit your price points anyway. Who bought a merchant ship? Aku? Looks like they're gonna just do a sort of a mix of the cards and mostly play. Assume he'll put the courtyard on top and play that. Looks like they're gonna mostly do money. At least everything so far indicates that to me. Just sort of a mix of money with some of the kingdom cards. I don't think I would do that, but I'm not sure. It seems odd to me in the decks that they're playing that you wouldn't play the lucky coin. Like, I just imagine, sure, you want the gold, or sure, you take the silver, but maybe they have something in mind that I'm not seeing. The ghost towns are so underwhelming when you haven't built an engine. Okay, Marcus, I guess now is shifting a little bit back. Maybe not shifting back, just what he planned all along, and I'm not. Yeah, if you did want to get control, you would certainly need to use the cemeteries. And you could, I mean, you could trash here. There's a sufficient draw to make it happen. So Aku gets his ghost. Hey, we've got ghost and ghost town. Marcus gonna take a cemetery. I guess trash his cemetery. Yeah. So they are shifting. They're playing. They're weird decks for sure. Still not clear what their plans are in my mind. I don't really have a good sense of how I would want to play this either. Though typically if I was just trying to build something that draws itself and plays like farmers markets or chariot races, I would have more courtyards by now and probably a farmers market sooner. Just the buy is pretty nice to pick up courtyards with like ghost towns or something. I don't know though. Oh, gotta get those castles. You know, those castles, they're the key. They're always so good. They're just not, they're the worst. I don't know what Marcus is doing now at all. I won't lie. I don't have any idea what's going on here. I just don't know what their goals are for their decks. Like they've been going back and forth between actions and money. They have like way more than enough money to buy some provinces if they wanted to. But they don't seem to be building engines at all. I don't know if they're worried about buying provinces because they think that'll let someone get away with castles, or what. Marcus could do another cemetery here and rid himself of the lucky coin. Which looks like that's... Nope, that's not what he's doing. Yeah, Tracer also points out that there's this, I didn't think of, the courtyard top deck stuff, so you can win your chariot races pretty well, or at least, you know, somewhat frequently. Okay, now Aku's going to get into the provinces. But I don't have any idea what Marcus is going to get into. I guess they are just playing money, more or less. Like, that's essentially what's happening at this point. It's money with a lot of stuff from the kingdom, but it's still basically money. And like, you wouldn't have needed to get all this stuff from the kingdom just to play money here. You have courtyard and lucky coin. Like, you don't need ghost towns to play that money wise. I mean, to be fair, Marcus did do a double province turn, so that's a bit beyond the traditional money style thing, but at the same time, he's not going to do that again, or it's very unlikely. What's going to happen is someone's going to get right. Yeah, what RTT says is a good point as well. I mean, there's more or less passed on a province to enable a double province, and wouldn't have got it if he hadn't double ghost towned it anyways. What I hope happens, my ideal ending for this game for sure is Lost in the Woods giving Aku the boon that lets you gain a 4, and he gains a cemetery or the crumbling castle, and that's what gives him the win. That's my ideal finish. It probably won't happen, but I hope it does. I think the Fool is actually pretty good for Aku. I mean, to get it and then basically just have Lost in the Woods the whole game, it's pretty alright thing to have. I don't think Fool is like, it's not like strong. Well, of course it's not strong, but I mean, I think it maybe is a little bit better than sometimes it's given credit for. Just because Lost in the Woods is okay. Like, if you do get it and then the rest of the game you just have it, that's a decent advantage. On some boards. Some boards it's just a waste of time, but so Marcus could do double castle here and attack Aku, which is what he does, which I think is reasonable. Though Aku can I'm kind of surprised he didn't set his wisp up to draw the copper, which he could have done. I guess it wouldn't have like helped him a whole lot or anything, but it wasn't a thing he could have done easily. I guess I'm a little surprised he didn't buy a duchy. Because he could have, well, he wouldn't have had the province, so I guess he's gonna sprawling castle here, which is worth like 8 points for him. That's pretty nice. And to get the ghost down. What did he get with his hit with his ghost? Courtyard? That's super nice. He looks in pretty decent shape. Marcus can Grand Castle. But Aku's got a reasonably good shot at getting the King Castle. Well, I don't know how good it is, but it's okay anyway. They really did just play money, though, essentially. Money with a twist. Slight. I mean, they're pretty interesting decks, I think. I'm not clear on whether that was the way to play it, but it's sort of interesting to see these mix of actions and knights and money. So Aku didn't hit 10. And Marcus will get the king off his small. It's a little hard to see. Now, you don't feel like going for it when Marcus has 2 ghost towns down, but Aku probably has to buy province. You could try and time it. Like, he could top deck a gold and just buy a duchy and try and wait a turn to see if Marcus doesn't have quite the hand to province, since he does have 2 ghost towns. But that's funny. So Marcus is gonna get the points from farmers market when he would much rather have any kind of money. He drew it anyway. That's funny. So it doesn't pan out. I don't know. It's not immediately clear to me that he had to go for it right then, but probably if you pay attention and know the farmers market is left, then that's gonna make the VPs pretty untenable anyway. Well, thank you for the interesting games, Marcus and Aku. Thank you for listening along with me, everyone else, and I will see you all later.